Hey everyone, it's Melody with Design by Melody, and I'm here with an organizational project today. So since my child is out of school, I believe I'm going to try to get him to help me organize my ribbon. So my ribbon are all together. They're nice and organized in these drawers and some of my white cubes that I have. Those are the ones from Michael's. I believe they were the Recollections brand when they had those. Well, I had two of the like 6-inch tall drawers that are the deep drawers full of ribbon, and now I have a basket or like a little carrying tote on top with more ribbon in it because it no longer fits in there. Well, if you look at this ribbon, yes, there's a little bit on the spool, but the entire center is just cardboard. So I have decided, instead of keeping all my ribbon on the spools, and as you can see I have quite a variety of ribbon here. This is just a small, very, very small collection or display of what I have in my collection. I've decided to kind of rewrap some of these ribbon to see if I can try to fit all of my ribbon into one of the drawers instead of having the two drawers and the basket on top. So that is my mission. I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to wrap them yet or how I'm going to store them, but I'm going to work on that, and I'm going to show you that process throughout this video. I did take a couple pictures of the drawers and the basket on top here that I will post between this part as well as my next portion of this video. They're not the best photos because I took them on top of my desk. You can see my supplies behind them and all of that, but it at least gives you an idea of the amount of ribbon that I have. So I am on a constant mission to organize and condense my supplies. I do not want to get rid of any supplies, but I do want to organize and kind of rethink how I'm storing them, because I think I have a lot of wasted space, just like these ribbon spools. Like, truly, there's so much wasted space here. So periodically over time, I've been reorganizing different things, and today is just going to be the ribbon day. So let's see what we come up with. Okay, a couple rules that I have created for myself. Anything less than 12 inches is going to go in either a pouch, a zipper bag, or a jar. I haven't decided if I want to put them in a jar and display them or not, but for now we're just going to keep them in this pouch. So anything less than 12 inches is going to go there. Anything less than 3 inches is going to get tossed. I don't need little tiny bits, especially if they're less than 3 inches. If they're about 3 inches or more, like this, I could, maybe layer behind a photo or wrap around a card or something like that. But anything less than 3 inches is going to get tossed. Anything less than 12 inches but greater than 3 is going to go here. And then anything greater than 12 inches is going to get wrapped on a spool or something. I haven't figured that part out yet, but these are my basic rules that I am starting with. Now, I am also going to include bits of twine and other bits of ribbon as well in this. And I say that as I'm like dropping stuff off my desk. But I have a little catch-all over here that has some twine in it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out to include as well. Those are going to get put in here. Now, I do have some embroidery floss. Okay, so I do have two other storage methods that are in these ribbon drawers with these ribbons that I'm going to keep as is, but I do need to clean it up, as I can already tell. I have my embroidery floss. I have some loose embroidery floss in there, which is what made me think of it, and I just put some black embroidery floss. Here we go. I'll put this back in here. I am going to clean this up and make sure I don't have all these little bits that are just kind of floating around. But I do have my embroidery floss in here, and I'm going to keep it that way. I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap these loose ones around, or the ones that are not wrapped. Go ahead and wrap those around and keep them here. And then I do have these bits of ribbon that either came like this. These are ones I've actually wrapped and stapled myself. There's some that came already like this. Some were already tied in bows. I kept those. These twine bits came that way, so I'll probably add the twine in here as it fits, and then also just kind of keep an eye if I come across any other bows and things, go ahead and add them here. For my little tiny bits of ribbon that are like this, I'm probably going to store it the exact same way. Just wrap, so you wrap it together, and then you just put a little piece of paper around it and staple it, and that just kind of keeps it together. And then if you don't use it, next time you use it, you can either slide it back in here or just do it again. And that's just using little strips of white cardstock scraps, which I have a million pieces of that. Let me show you. I keep all my white cardstock scraps because I use those for stamping and things, and this is one of 2 buckets, so I have plenty of white scraps to do that with. So that'll be my plan for the tiny little bits. Now for the larger bits of ribbon, I don't like how this is tied with twine. I feel like it just looks messy, so I'm going to take those out and rewrap those, but the ones that are just little bits that can be wrapped with a paper like this, I'm going to keep it that way. So let me take those out. So the ones that are going to stay here. That one had a little bow attached, so we'll leave that. So the rest of these are looking pretty good. We'll leave those as is. I may move those to the bigger drawers once I figure out how many like embroidery twine and bits and things like that need to be added into this one. I might move those little ones into the larger storage, but we will see. So that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start sorting by size and then start wrapping as well into these little bits. I'm not going to have you watch me do this entire process because, let's be honest, I was really bad about making sure I was actually in the frame of the video as I was doing this because I was watching YouTube videos as I was going. I was talking to my son. I was, responding to phone calls and doing things like that. I was definitely multitasking. And as you could see, I really failed at making sure I was in the frame. But I did want to give you just a peek of my process. I am just going to show you me doing the ones that are pretty much on my desk as I did the intro to this video, as well as a few out of the bucket. And then we will just kind of jump to the end and I'll give you an overall at the very end. I pretty much just unwind the ribbon, make a pile on my desk because that's the best way to do it. Why not make a mess before you make it better? Take the paper strips out of my little paper scrap storage, and then I have my scissors as well as a stapler sitting here on my desk. So basically just like wind the ribbon up. If it's a fat ribbon, I kind of roll it onto itself. If it's a thinner ribbon, I usually wrap it around like 2 or 3 fingers just to make a small little loop of ribbon. And then I take the paper strips and just staple them around them and trim off the excess paper so I don't have a whole lot of extra paper sticking out. I did not buy a single thing in this project. This was really just kind of reorganizing the ribbon that I already had to take out that extra bulk out of the drawers so I didn't have quite so much space taken up by the same amount of product. Now, some of these ribbon are recycled off of different things. Like this was actually Bobbi Brown ribbon that had come off of a gift set at Christmas, but I thought it was such a beautiful red that I could use the other side of the red. And being a, like a recycler, crafter, not hoarder, I'm not going to say hoarder because I'm not a hoarder, but like I feel like in general, crafters keep a lot of things because they might be able to use it, and that's kind of how I am. So like this Bobbi Brown ribbon that was that really bright red is a perfect ribbon to use on a project, especially maybe a Christmas project that needs that bright red color. And of course I can't throw it away, so I kept it. As I'm going through my bins, I am finding a couple additional things. I found some like gift wrap ribbons. They're not really appropriate for scrapbooking ribbon because of the size, and they had they were like the wired ribbon. So I went ahead and added those to my gift wrap storage. I do keep all my gift wrap together, so I just added that to there. And then I find a couple other things like some sewing pins that are holding ribbon onto the spool. And as I'm going through this whole process, I'm putting away all those things where they go in my craft room just to kind of make sure that everything is in the place that it goes. And I don't have so much stuff in random locations. I have noticed that I do that. And it's not necessarily that I'm lazy, that I don't want to put things back where they go. But when you're in the middle of a project, you kind of set things aside and you're like, oh, I'll put it back in a bit. And then you never end up putting it back. So as I was working on this project, I was very careful about making sure I put things where they go as I was going. As my little bucket that I was filling with the spools filled up, I would take it out to the recycling outside. So I wouldn't just have this massive pile of trash or recycling to deal with at the end. I was kind of cleaning up as I went. As I emptied the drawers and the basket, I put them back. That way I wouldn't have them just stacked up for me to deal with at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and jump through here to the end and let you see the ending result and give you a little bit of information about my process. Okay, I am coming back about a day and a half after the first part of this video, and what I have done is I have finished going through all of my ribbon. That also included like my embroidery floss, as well as bows that were already tied, like came already tied. So this is what I have done. I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of the end result. I ended up just doing it in little batches, and I had so many things going to the recycle, like the spools that all the ribbons were. And if you remember, I had 2 big drawers as well as a basket, a carrying case of ribbon. So now this is what we have left. Here are all my embroidery floss, and I did have miscellaneous other pieces and spools of ribbon and thread in different areas, so I went ahead and found all those and combined them together. So I use these a lot of time for stitching on scrapbooking projects, but I have all of my embroidery floss together here, and they are all on the little spools. I have all of my baker's twine. I have 3 giant things of baker's twine that are not in here, but everything else that's small is in here. I also ended up putting all of my ribbon that was very thin on these spools here. I don't actually have that much of it left. This is all I have here on this side. And I do have a few little bits of wax coated twine that are in here as well. And then I have all of my ribbon. All of my bows, rather, not ribbon, but bows. So that's there, and I do have more space if I decided to include more there. And then this is the rest of it. 1 drawer, not even entirely full. As you can see, there is technically still space. Those 2 drawers, an entire basket went in here. That's insane to me that just by getting rid of the spools in the center, I was able to do that. And what I ended up doing is the ones that I had a lot, like I have a couple that really had a lot, I just kind of wrapped around my hand and then did the little band on them. I figured that was going to be easier and a less use of supplies. I had thought about cutting cards and wrapping them, and then as I continued, this is what I had originally started with. Ones like this that were thinner ribbons with the little band just stapled around it. As I continued to do those, I started doing it with the larger ones, and instead of wrapping it around the center, I just kind of wrapped it through the middle. But as you can see, I have all different kinds here. Now I do have 2 spools of this tulle that I left on the spool. There's pink and blue. And then I have these 2, which are paper ribbons, and I was afraid if I started to undo these, yes, they do take up a lot of space because they're still on these spools, but if I started to undo these, I was afraid it was going to rip the paper because this is just paper ribbon. This is not like a fabric ribbon or a woven ribbon. It's paper ribbon. So I decided to leave those, and I love those too. So I'm going to leave those in here. I only have 2 of those. And then everything else is wrapped and just closed with a piece of, this was just scrap paper. Remember I had showed you my little bucket of scrap paper? This is still quite full. I actually have a little bit of space in it now, but it's still quite full. And then I just stapled it. So those are just some examples of what I have. And it's much easier just to pull these out. I can rip this off or just slide it out and reuse it. Either way, I can like pull it out if I want to, however I want to use this. It's pretty versatile, but because I'm not really using any major supplies, it's easy just to rewrap and staple again. So I didn't spend any money on this organizational project. It was just some time and effort, but I am so much more pleased with the fact that I don't have the little bucket carrying case sitting on top of these bins, and I now only have 1 drawer versus 2 drawers. And then these are the scraps. This is all I ended up with ribbon that was less than 12 inches. Everything else was more than 12 inches, and I was able to wrap together. So this is, I'm quite pleased with this, that I really don't have much left. And then the last thing I am going to note is that on the side of my drawer here, I kept my stencils. I've got an alphabet stencil. I've got, this is an Amy Tangerine stencil, I believe. I've got my Stampin' Up, what do you call, punch? What is this called? I can't remember what it's called. It's for paper piercing and stitching. It's just like a punch guide. And then I have my little foam mats in here. I have a couple of the foam mats. So those are in here as well. Easily accessible. And then I have the tool. It's down in there. I've got the tool right here. Just in case. This is my Stampin' Up paper piercing tool. I always use that when I'm piercing papers. So I can actually put one of these on top, which is probably what I will do in the drawer, is just have this on top, and then I'll put my embroidery floss for now with my sewing materials. Once I use some of this ribbon and get it down, this will go back into this drawer as well. I just like to keep it all together. I did want to tell you a little bit as to why I was doing this. I know I had talked about at the beginning that I am on this mission to like purge and declutter and not purge, sorry. It's wrong use of words. I'm not on a mission to purge. I'm on a mission to reorganize and declutter. And not declutter in a sense of get rid of things, but declutter in a sense of making better organizational choices, and things like getting rid of the huge bulky cardboard centers of these ribbon was one of the projects that I had in mind. Now I have, let's see, about 15 of these white Recollections cubes. I think they measure about 14 by 14, I think is how they measure. And I've got them stacked. I've got them stacked in my closet. But I have 5 that do not fit in my closet with the way my closet is organized. And so my goal by the end of all of this is to get rid of those 5 that are not in the closet. And I know that seems like a lot, but I can do it. I have faith in myself. And just by doing this ribbon alone, I didn't get rid of any ribbon. Well, I did throw one ribbon away because it was starting to disintegrate. It was some ribbon from my grandmother's house, which probably means it was about 40 or 50 years old. And it was starting to disintegrate. As you unwound it, it kind of just like was flaking off. So I just got rid of that. But other than that, by doing this, I was able to get rid of the bucket that was on top of those 5 bins and half of the bin, because it had 2 of these big drawers in it, and now only 1 drawer is full. So that's half of a bin right there. And I still have the other like 14 cubes to go through, and I'm just going to go through them over time. I'm not in any kind of rush. It's just as I go through and reorganize and use things, I will be kind of shifting around those drawers, just kind of reduce the number that I have. So that is my main goal, to get the 5 that are out of the closet empty, so I can sell them on Facebook Marketplace or get rid of them or something like that. So that was the whole purpose of kind of my goal behind my reorganization. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's just a simple reorganizational project. It took, a little bit of time, but it's one of those things that you can do while you watch YouTube videos. And sometimes I just need a mindless task. Especially with everything that's going on. I am still working. I am still doing all of the jobs that I do, and so I am still quite busy. But it is kind of nice to sometimes do a mindless task just to get your mind off of things and kind of decompress for a moment. So thank you for joining me today. I will be back soon with a scrapbooking project. All right, guys. Bye. Thank you for joining me today in this reorganization project. I hope you enjoyed this process. I do have a couple videos linked for you here on the screen, and then also if you are not subscribed to my channel, please hit that subscribe button so you are notified anytime that I post new videos. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will catch you next time. Bye!